Arunachala Shiva, Arunachala Shiva, Arunachala Shiva, Arunachala.
It was January 20th, 1936. Mr. Prakash Rao from Bezawada asked the question, does illusion cease to operate even before the realization of identity with Brahman? Or does it persist even after realization? Maharshi replied, illusion will not persist after vasanas are annihilated. In the interval between the knowledge of the identity and annihilation of vasanas, there will be illusion. Then the devotee asked, how can the world influence a man even after identity with Brahman? Maharshi said, first do it and see. You can then raise this question if necessary. The devotee, can we know it in the same way as we know our identity? Maharshi said, are you different from the mind? How do you expect it to be known? Devotee replied, can the full scope of the chitta be known? Oh, said Maharshi, is this the identity of Brahman? Ignorance vanishing, the residue reveals itself. It is experience, not in the category of knowledge, said Bhagavan. January 23rd, 1936. Talk number 143. Mr. Paul Brunton asked Sri Bhagavan if Arunachala, the hill, here is hollow. Maharshi replied, the Puranas say so. When it is said that the heart is a cavity, penetration into it proves it to be an expanse of light. Similarly, the hill is one of light. The caves, etc. are covering up the light. Mr. Brunton asked, are there caves inside? In vision, I have seen caves, cities with streets, etc., and a whole world in it, said Maharshi. Then the devotee said, are there siddhas too in it? Maharshi replied, all the siddhas are reputed to be there. Devotee, are there only siddhas or others too? Just like this world, said Maharshi. Then Mr. Brunton said, siddhas are said to be in Himalayas. Maharshi replied, Kailasa is on the Himalayas. It is the abode of Shiva, whereas this hill, Arunachala, is Shiva himself. All the paraphernalia of his abode must also be where he himself is. Then Mr. Brunton asked, does Bhagavan believe that the hill is hollow, etc.? Maharshi replied, everything depends on the viewpoint of the individual. You yourself have seen hermitages, etc. on this hill in a vision. You have described such in your book. Devotee said, yes, it was on the surface of the hill. The vision was within me. Maharshi replied, this is exactly so. Everything is within oneself. To see the world, there must be a spectator. There could be no world without the self. The self is all comprising. In fact, self is all. There is nothing behind this besides the selves. Devotee, what is the mystery of this hill, the Arunachala? Maharshi replied, just as you have said in secret Egypt, the mystery of the pyramid is the mystery of the self. So also the mystery of this hill is the mystery of the self. Then Major Chadwick asked, I do not know if the self is different from the ego. Maharshi replied, how were you in your deep sleep? I do not know, said Major Chadwick. Maharshi said, who does not know? Is it not the waking self? Do you deny your existence in your deep sleep? The devotee said, I was and I am, but I do not know who was in deep sleep. Exactly, said Maharshi. The man awake says that he did not know anything in the state of sleep, nor he sees the objects and knows that he is there, whereas in deep sleep there were no objects, no spectator, etc. The same one who is now speaking was also in deep sleep. What is the difference between these two states? There are objects and play of senses now which were not in sleep. A new identity, the ego, has risen up in the meantime. It plays through the senses, sees the objects, confounds itself with the body, and says that the self is the ego. In reality, what was in deep sleep continues to exist now too. The self is changeless. It is the ego that has come between. That which rises and sets is the ego. That which remains changeless is the self. Talk 144. Mr. Prakash Rao asked, "What is the root cause of Maya?" Maharshi replied, "What is Maya?" Devotee, Maya is wrong knowledge, illusion. Then Maharshi replied, "For whom is this illusion? There must be one to be deluded. Illusion is ignorance. The ignorant self sees the objects according to you. When the objects are not themselves present, how can Maya exist? Maya is Yama, which means Maya is what is not. What remains over is the true self. If you say that you see the objects, or if you say that you do not know the real unity, then there are two selves, one the knower and the other the knowable object. No one will admit of two selves in himself. The awakened man says that he himself was in deep slumber but not aware. He does not say that the sleeper was different from the present one. There is only one self. That self is always aware. It is changeless. There is nothing but the self." The devotee then asked, "What is astral body?" Maharshi, "Do you not have a body in your dream? Is it not different from the recumbent body on the bed?" The devotee replied, "Do we survive after death? Does the astral body outlive physical death?" Maharshi replied, "Just as in dreams you wake up after several novel experiences, so also after physical death another body is found, and so on." Devotee, they say that the astral body lives for 40 years after death. To this, Maharshi replied, "In the present body, you say that the dream body is astral. Did you say so in the dream body? What is astral now would appear real then. The present body itself is astral according to that viewpoint. What is the difference between one astral body and another? There is no difference between the two." Mr. Paul Brunton said, "There are degrees of reality." Maharshi replied, "To say the dream body is unreal now, and to say that this body was unreal in the dream, does not denote degrees of reality. In deep sleep, there is no experience of the body at all. There is always one, and that is the self." End of talk 144.